In the Lenalidomide pembro study, patients that had failed to 2 previous lines of therapy, relapse and refractory myeloma patients were included. The maximum tolerated dose was defined as 200 milligrams of pembro, flat dose every 15 days, with the conventional schedule of 21 milligrams for lenalidomide and 40 milligrams weekly for dexamethasone. Treatment was pretty well tolerated. Only, I would say, the expected side effects for lenalidomide and dexamethasone, but I should call about caution because the follow-up in these patients is still short. In fact, only 17 out of the 50 patients are available for response. For toxicity, we have evaluated the 50 patients that receive at least 1 dose of the drug. And regarding immune-related adverse event, we have not observed in this cohort of patients yet pneumonitis, but we have seen 2 cases with hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. What about response? Response is really something important for patients that has been exposed, as this one, to 3 or 4 more lines of therapy. And I want to call your attention that in this population, all patients by definition should have been exposed to lenalidomide and bortezomib, and 76% of these patients were refractory to lenalidomide, and half of them, they were double refractory. And in this context, the response rate was 76% for the overall population, and the response rate was 50% for the double refractory population. This means that this indicates, at least, that in these 17 patients that are available for response, there are clear signs talking about the synergism of these 2 drugs. What about the pembro plus pom? This second trial has included 33 patients, high-risk cytogenetics in a high proportion of these patients, over 40% of these patients had high-risk cytogenetics. And again, if we talk about the response rate, is 60% in patients. All these patients, I should mention again, were heavily pretreated before. They were exposed to lenalidomide and to bortezomib, double refractory patients in a high proportion of them, 70%, and 60% responses was observed for the whole population, 50% for the double refractory population. Then taking together all this information, I think these are good news because we have a new drug with a completely different mechanism of action, complementary with the IMiDs, probably also could be complementary with proteasome inhibitors. And this is what the patients need, new drugs, new pathways to be investigated, particularly for the relapsed refractory patients.